Good evening, Louis Cadetti IV, Professor, AKA.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, the fourth. This is how I would go about a seated figure. In a standing figure, I always say to start with the feet and then work your way up. Now, it can be very difficult with a seated pose. You can start with the feet, but the reason why you start with the feet to begin with is because they are planted. Now, in a seated figure, we have the added benefit of the buttoctal region actually being planted as well, being that it is, in fact, seated, so it's not going to be moving. So it's also another point we can move off of. So if I am drawing from the front of a figure and I can't see that point, this is how I would go about drawing a figure in this position. So the first things first, we get the bottom, we get the top. And then we're gonna mark also where I see her right thigh, which is about, it should come down just a little bit, probably around right here. We have Brian cursing in the background, which means he's on the right track. So actually it is right here. My original accurate measurement was in fact correct. So then we're gonna go and we're gonna mark the feet in. And I'm just gonna go from her big toe up to her ankle right here, across the other side. And then we're just gonna shoot right down, get the angle of the ankle, and the foot as well. And then we're just going to make it look more like a foot by getting these subtle angles, right? And then from here, once we have this angle, this point rather, of the ankle, we're gonna shoot straight up and we're gonna get the side of the knee. And the knee, if we measure, is going slightly above her right thigh. So it ends, if this is where her thigh is, it's gonna be about this high. Her knee is gonna be about this high right here. So I'm gonna get this angle, which is going essentially straight up, and then this part right here is almost going straight up, but it's going a little bit over like this, right? Like this, like this. There we go. So we're just gonna mark these points in. This is actually gonna thin out just a little bit here. Then what do? We go in and we clean it up with our eraser, gummy eraser. All right, so once we have this point, I'm gonna come across here and say, we're gonna get the other foot in. I'm gonna go from toe to toe, right? From foot to foot, and I think her toes are about this height right here, about this far away from her foot, and we're gonna go up to the ankle and get the other ankle like that. So we're just gonna be measuring off of each point individually here. So what this does, it forces us to see the entire figure all at once, right? You never wanna just piecemeal, you never just wanna separate the figure totally from itself, right? You wanna be looking at the entire figure all at once. And so we're trying to get the ankles and get the knees drawn in all at once. And so from here, we have the ankles. Here's another ankle right here, about that height. And then we're gonna go up to the knee, which is gonna get a little bit wider at the top. And I'm gonna say this is going up at a diagonal. So legs crossing can be a little bit of a challenge, especially when they're foreshortened looking at us right here. But this is obviously how we go about doing it, just breaking them down systematically. And so we've established this is where she's sitting right here, and then how wide from this point to this point is her leg. Our foreshortened view, it's about here, and at what angle it's going, not straight up, but like this. So I'm just gonna go and just broadly block that in. And then say the height of her leg is about here. And so this is her right leg. And then we're gonna shoot straight across here. How wide is it? And we can also not only shoot straight across from her right leg to get her left side, but we can also use the knee area right here and go diagonally across. So I normally like to judge off of a couple different points, not just one point, right? And so this is where, if she's sitting here, we look and we're gonna try to find her up this leg right here. Where's it going? It's kind of dropping down at an angle, and then it's shooting up like this, which is very close to the point which we just drew. So I'm just going from point to point, trying to see widths and angles. And then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna get the angle of her hip, her left side. And then you'll see a breaking point here, and then it kind of cuts in there a little bit, so I might as well just go through and put this angle in right there, and it's a very subtle angle. And then from this point to here, we can deduce, if you will, the width of her hips, right? So from here, we're just gonna go up and find where her armpit should be, which is about right here. Now the other one is hidden from our view. And in fact, this area might actually come in just a little bit, somewhere around here, okay? And I think I made it, let's see, I need to drop this down just a little bit. So from here, actually I'm gonna bring this in some, this point comes over here, and then it comes up about this high, right there, and then I'm just gonna, from here, go from this point up to here to the belly button, which is about right there, and then we're gonna shoot straight up to the pit of her neck, which is the suprasternal notch, right, Brian?
Very good.
That's right. Brian says 2 points. The top of the head, we have marks of the suprasternal notch, and we're top of the head, so we're looking at the whole figure to do this, right? So I oftentimes will be tapping my pencil around and correcting points that need to be corrected. And suprasternal notch going down to the breast, which I put too high up. First the breast, I mean the nip, right? We're gonna go over to the other nip, which is about over here. Indelicate. What are you talking about? Anyway, from this point here, and we're going up to the armpit again. So we have the suprasternal notch going up to the side of her neck right here, and then we're just going to ever so slightly block in the angle of the shoulders, okay? Shoulders, being careful not to make them fall too much, and then we can get the angle of the deltoids about right there. So where's the shoulder breaks? It breaks about there, and then this part's coming up like that. If that's the head there, could be that, yes, in fact, let me make sure that this is correct. 1, 2. So this is more of a train of thought of me going through explaining exactly how I go about a seated pose, because you don't always do every figure the same, though there are similarities between each one. But this is roughly what you want to do. You want to go up, establish a suprasternal notch, so you can then start measuring off of this point. This, I think, actually comes up just a little bit. That looks a little bit better to me. You establish the suprasternal notch, and then you can start going through and measuring the shoulder area and connect the shoulder area and make sure it's not going over too far to the right or the left, right? So this point here, and then we're going to say if this shoulder's here, this one's going about at this angle coming here, and then going from this point here, which I think this actually needs to drop a little bit. Just a little, and I'm going to shave this in some, like that, which I didn't do at all. Let me do that. And I didn't do it at all again. That's right, there we go. And then this comes up right here, and I'm looking at this side, this other side as I'm doing this. You never just want to draw one side without looking at the other side. And I'm just gonna clean this up just a little bit. And then from here, there's a very beautiful angle, the fingers coming across about, not that close to the neck. They come over this way just a little bit. And then we're gonna go to the wrist, get the width of the wrist right here, which should be about like this. And then I'm gonna go and say, okay, from the wrist all the way down to the elbow is about right here. That's it, and then elbow breaks about right here. And then there's an angle that comes up like this. And then I'm gonna draw this side in at the same time, which is actually flowing quite nicely up into the breast area right here. So I'm gonna do that, and then this point right here, I'm just gonna bring straight down like this. 1, 2, 3. So I'm looking at the whole thing all at once, and then looking at this whole piece all at once. I don't want this out too far. I don't want this out too thin. I want it just right, and it should be somewhere along in here. And then, since I carry my lines out, I have I'm gonna have to establish the width of the shoulders, and so I'm gonna also use the neck to do that. So from the neck here, and then her deltoid is gonna be about right here. So it kind of goes 1, and then if I wanna be picky about it, it kind of comes out just a little bit. And so that's one quick way of establishing fairly quickly the arm. And then from here, the head, we're gonna mark the bottom of the neck right here, or the bottom of the chin. And then get her jawline going up there. And then it's very important to establish where the ears are. So the ear is gonna be here. And then I'm blurring her face out, and there's gonna be an angle coming up here, and then we're gonna shoot straight across here and see this, and we're gonna see her cheekbone at the same time. It's gonna break up like that. And then from here, it's going to, if this is here, this is gonna be cutting in something like that right there. And then from that point, I think this actually does indeed come down to probably where I had it before, which was slightly down. And then we can start cutting in the angles from this area. And we can put, this is gonna drop down just a little bit more. This drops down. Go in with eraser, and we're gonna just cut right in like this. 1, 2, right? And then from here, we're gonna get the hairline, which is about right here, and then coming across here, right? And so guys, this is how essentially I go about hatching in a figure, right? And at this point, a lot of the lines, they need to be corrected, they need to be shifted slightly. This is essentially how we get in a very basic, a very simple blocking stage. And from this point, all we need to do is to continue hatching out and correcting a lot of these lines that we have already done, right? That's the main thing that you want to do. You don't just want to put it in the blocking stage and say, okay, it's in the blocking stage, that's all I need to do, and then you just let it go and it looks like shit at the end because you detailed it and you're like, why does it look bad? I blocked it in. Because you have to correct the blocking. You have to get the block in, number one. But then we need to go through, we have to be smart, we have to use our brains, and we need to go and block this in. It's essentially how drawing works. So a drawing like this, it's very important just to keep it very basic, keep it simple. And so again, and continuously go through and correct. And I look at her and I think I made her just a little bit wide. And so, a good thing, I could do is just, I'm looking and I could bring this side in, but I think this side comes in just a little bit more, right? Because she's kind of sitting back at least where she is right now, just a little bit. And even putting that in gave her a little bit more of a gesture, right? And it fixed some proportional issues. And I'm gonna go and clean this part up just a little bit too. And so this is, oh, and the other arm. I forgot to put the other arm in really quick. Let's see. It's 1, 2, and then from here, how wide is it? It's gonna be here. Where's the deltoid break? It breaks about right here, coming down, and I can kind of see, I can kind of see her elbow in it. So I'm gonna go down to about the elbow right there, and then to get where her hand is, I'm gonna say, okay, from this knee, her hand is gonna be slightly below, and it's gonna be coming at this angle right here, and it's gonna be about this far away, right? This far away from her hip. So it's gonna be somewhere around here, and then the angle of her knuckles are going about like this, and then if this angle is here, how high is the hand? Kind of like this, and then it's kind of covered up a little bit for me, at least by the cloth. So that's going to be where the hand is, and then we just go through and we hatch this bitch out. All right. So essentially, and then it's essentially blocked by the chair right here. But the main thing to do is just to constantly keep on squinting down. Do not focus on the model unless you're trying to understand exactly what is going on. And again, we start with the feet and we establish the where she's sitting. Those are solid points that you can measure off of. And then as quickly as you can, once you establish this bottom part, we're gonna shoot up to that suprasternal notch, and then we start getting these points, right? The neck, We get armpit to armpit, and when you put the shoulders in, you want to make sure you give this enough distance. You don't want the armpit going up too high, right? We need to make sure that there's a solid distance right there between it. It needs to be proportional. And from there, we need to go through and make sure that this width is correct. Now, I think I've made it slightly too wide, but that's something that is very easily correctable in this stage. So does anybody else have anything to add? Oh, you did a great job, Louis. You're great. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Louis Cadetti out.